Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to this program this morning, which we have entitled Foundations of Performance Coaching. All managers get concerned when individual employees, teams, departments, and their organizations perform below expectations. What does this imply? It implies loss of clients. It implies loss of business. And it also implies loss of competitive advantage. In order to change this kind of trend, managers look for ways of improving individual and organizational performance. And that is the very reason why we are here this morning to discuss this very important topic of performance coaching. I am Andrew Ondari, and I am your performance coach this morning. Welcome. In this morning, or rather in this topic, we are going to explore three key themes which speak to our topic, that is performance coaching. The first one is the coaching mindset and the performance foundations. That by and large, we as managers need to attune ourselves to the aspect of coaching for purposes of ensuring that individual employees are performing to expectations. And that mindset requires that we inculcate coaching in our culture, meaning that we should be coaching our employees as part of our day-to-day work environment. And then talking of performance, it is about achieving or delivering desired outcomes or objectives which help an organization to serve its customers better and compete successfully in the environment. Secondly, we shall look at performance cycle and alignment. That in performance, we look at it as a continuous process that never comes to an end. Unlike performance appraisal, which is conducted for a specific period and as a beginning and an end, but performance management is continuous. And therefore it becomes a cycle that at the end of the year, we begin another cycle to the next year. And then in terms of alignment, we are going to look at how we can align individual goals and objectives to organizational priorities and objectives. That whatever employees are doing must help to support the attainment of organizational objectives. And then lastly, we will explore the differences between coaching and managing and how we can combine the two in order to ensure efficiency and effectiveness in performance coaching. I now wish to start with the first one, which is the foundations of performance coaching. And we start with the concept of performance coaching. I've highlighted keywords there for purposes of our discussion this morning. That this is a process of supporting employees to improve their results. The keyword there is supporting. By supporting, I mean 3 or 4 things. One, equipping employees with the relevant skills and knowledge to improve their performance. And therefore, coaching becomes a process of acquiring new skills and knowledge for purposes of improving individual performance. Secondly, supporting may relate to provision of resources. And these resources could be financial resources or physical resources that can be used in this learning process. So without the resources, there will be no coaching. So in performance coaching, we require resources. And then number 3 is management commitment to learning. That for performance coaching to take place, managers must dedicate their time, energy, and effort to ensure employees acquire the skills. And lastly, supporting can be in terms of policy, that managers develop policies that support performance coaching. In many organizations, we simply set objectives at the beginning of the year. For example, in the public sector, the year begins in July this month, and they set objectives over the next period, like 3 months, 4 months, and then up to 1 year next year, July. And rarely do organizations take their time to support employees in order for them to perform better, which means that coaching is not part of their policy in performance management. Meaning that in coaching, we support employees in 4 ways. One, if I may summarize, providing resources. 2, training them to acquire new skills and knowledge. 3, management commitment. And 4, policy. And in performance coaching, there is the element of guidance, guiding employees in setting their individual objectives, in implementing strategies for achieving the objectives, and monitoring progress. This guidance cannot work without feedback. So we need to know how well we are doing as employees when we are being coached. So feedback enables us to know or to be aware of, 1, the results we are producing, whether positive or negative. Secondly, the progress we are making. either in the right direction or in the wrong direction. And also challenges that we may be facing, which may hinder the achievement of our objectives. And then lastly, we talk about continuous development, suggesting that learning never comes to an end. It is a continuous process of acquiring new skills and knowledge. Towards the end of this first part, I will be talking about creating a learning and coaching culture where managers ensure that employees are continuously empowered to acquire new skills and knowledge so that performance is continuously improved. Secondly, performance coaching relates to capability or capacity development, where managers or coaches enhance the skills, knowledge, and confidence of employees. By knowledge, we mean that employees have a confident understanding of their work or the objectives that they need to achieve. Confident understanding, that is what you call knowledge. Then skills, these are the technical competences that people acquire through training. So we can acquire skills in human resource management, in ICT, in marketing, or even in leadership. These skills can be acquired through many ways. One is through training, two is through experience, and three is through coaching and mentorship. And here we are talking about performance coaching, where skilled managers or coaches impart their skills to their employees. And then confidence is the capacity to do things without hesitation or even consultation. Through confidence building, coaches enable employees to perform their jobs effectively. Thirdly, coaching is a collaborative process where managers and employees work together to achieve shared goals and objectives. That in coaching, managers have the experience, they have the knowledge, they have the skills, and this is what they share with their employees. On the employee side, they also share their weaknesses, their strengths, and even their fears in regard to performance. So through this exchange, managers are able to identify the weaknesses, the strengths, and opportunities of employees and develop action plans to improve the employee performance. Excuse me. And then another aspect related to performance coaching is goal attainment. That the goals of an individual must be aligned with the corporate objectives. By aligning, we mean that whatever the employee intends to achieve in the short, medium, and long term should enable the organization to achieve its objectives. For instance, an individual employee may have an objective of enhancing their careers in their respective departments. So how is this aligned with the corporate objectives? That through career development, organizations are able to tap into the skills and knowledge gained through career development so that they can enhance their business outcomes. So individual employees should be aligned with corporate objectives so that performance coaching does not drift from the intended objective. And then lastly, through coaching, we empower employees. That by empowerment, two things happen. One, that employees become accountable for their actions or the results they produce. They are accountable. That means they take ownership of the outcomes or their behaviors. And secondly, through empowerment, employees are able to make independent decisions. That when an employee is well coached, they don't need to refer to a higher authority to make decisions because they will have acquired relevant skills and knowledge to make decisions and also take responsibility for the decisions they make. So basically, that is the concept of performance coaching, where we are saying that it's a process of supporting employees to achieve their full potential, and it enables employees to acquire skills and knowledge. It's a collaborative process and it's goal-oriented. When does performance coaching become necessary? There are several situations when performance coaching becomes necessary. Number one is when performance declines, meaning that the results produced by the employees fall below the expected standards. In terms of rating, even I use a public sector example, that high achievers are said to exceed expectation. Average achievers are said to meet expectation. And poor performers are said to have performed below expectation. Those who perform below expectation become the candidates for performance coaching. And therefore, our focus should be on maintaining the expected standards. That is either meeting expectation or exceeding expectation. And the desire of all organizations is to ensure that employees exceed expectations. Secondly, coaching becomes necessary when there are performance gaps. That in performance gaps, you may have set your target. And I can use the example of a customer relations officer. That the expected standard could be taking 24 hours to resolve a conflict or a query, if that is the standard. But an employee takes 40 to 48 hours to resolve the customer conflict. That means that the employee has a performance gap of 24 hours. And that is a concern of managers because when employee queries, that the customer queries are not resolved on time, the customers become dissatisfied and are likely to walk away, and that is loss of business. So when there are such gaps, performance coaching becomes necessary. In the case of customer experience, where delays are encountered, the employee can be coached on how to use technologies in order to reduce the time taken to respond to those queries or concerns. Two, they can be coached on how to prioritize issues related to customers. They can also be coached on how to respond to customer queries in a more efficient and effective way. Thirdly, coaching becomes necessary when new skills emerge or are required. Today, we live in a dynamic environment, and this dynamism requires that our skills, our knowledge, and our competences respond appropriately. For example, we operate in a technological environment which is continuously changing. And therefore, our employees should acquire technological skills in order to perform their jobs. Today, we talk about the use of AI, and all employees could be expected to use AI depending on their job requirements. And therefore, they need to be coached on how to use AI to make their work easier and more effective. So when jobs are changing because of technology, we also need to equip our employees to respond to those changes. Another circumstance requiring coaching is when roles or responsibilities change. Roles and responsibilities can change as a result of many things. One, restructuring the organization. Two, transfer of employees. Three, promotion of employees. So with this changes in roles and responsibilities, employees may require coaching in order for them to adapt to the new positions and the responsibilities they will be given from time to time. In restructuring, for example, you can change a function like HRM, that is human resource management, to people and culture professional. So with the change of roles like people and culture, so the focus will also change. Because when you introduce the element of culture, it means that the core values of the organization become the driving force for success in organizations. And therefore, these employees will require coaching on how they will approach people and culture environment. Then lastly, when preparing employees for future positions, there are many ways in which employees can be prepared to take positions at higher levels. One, you can train them. Two, you can mentor them. Three, you can give them stretch assignments. And lastly, which is our point of discussion, is coaching. You coach employees with potential to occupy higher positions of leadership. And this is part of our succession plan, which we prepare as HR managers. In the next few minutes, I'll be talking about coaching and employee or workforce planning. That when we are preparing our human resource plan, we should take care of employees who exit the organization at a higher level and therefore prepare succession plans adequately. And who are these people who should succeed others or take over positions at higher levels? One, they should be skilled. Two, they should be knowledgeable. Three, they should be experienced. Four, they should have a positive attitude. And five, they should have leadership competences. And this is what is called the employee potential for succession or promotion. So we coach people at a lower level as part of our succession plan so that we prepare them adequately to occupy higher positions. Then we move to coaching mindset. It's a state of mind. And in this state of mind, we are looking at coaching as a form of development in terms of skills, knowledge, abilities, and competences. So a coaching mindset focuses on developing people, that is, enhancing their skills and knowledge to improve their performance and also become more eligible for promotion. And this arises out of a core belief that all employees possess untapped potential. And this is very true. If I may refer us to a book written by Ben Carson called Think Big, he says that all of us, irrespective of our station in life, are capable of achieving 10 times more than what we are achieving today. Then what does that imply? That once we discover our potential, we can do more than what we are doing today. So in coaching, managers identify employee potentialities, that some have potential to become leaders, some have potential to become managers, some have potential to become accountants, and others. So that potential is what we want to uncover through coaching. That in the coaching conversations that we have, we are likely to identify the strengths of an employee which are not optimally utilized. And therefore, that strength become an untapped potential which we can use to improve employee performance. Thirdly, is the role of leaders. That in coaching, what is our role as HR managers in improving performance? And as I've highlighted there, is to facilitate learning. How do managers or coaches facilitate learning? One is encourage employees to go for training. Two is to celebrate learning by way of rewarding those who acquire new skills and knowledge. Three, they develop learning programs which employees can take advantage of. Four, they support learning by way of providing resources. either for skill enhancement or professional development. So our role is to facilitate learning, to ensure that learning actually takes place by allocating resources, encouraging learning, rewarding learning, and also developing learning programs. Another aspect of a coaching mindset is growth orientation. That our skills, knowledge, experience can be grown over time. And we can grow this through coaching. As I've indicated before, that there is need for continuous learning. Learning should never stop. And as the adage goes, if a person stops learning, they start dying. And that is a fact of life. And that is why we have such kind of programs for continuous professional development. That if you stop learning, there are many things that happen around our environment which changes the way we work. So if you stop learning, you will never learn the new changes. And because the environment we operate in is in a continuous state of change, we should also learn continuously. Improvement is to enhance the skills that people have. That the skills we had yesterday and today have a shelf life. They can expire. And with the expiry of such skills, we become irrelevant. And for that reason, we encourage employees to learn so that they can acquire new skills, if not new skills, enhance their skills so that they can also improve their performance. And then lastly, on that point, is professional development. That all of us may be professional HR managers. And all professions are not static. They change over time. For example, today, you can talk of HR management, but if you do not inculcate some technological aspects, you may not grow as a professional. And that is why today we integrate HR management with AI as a way of enhancing our profession. Employee empowerment is another mindset that we need to have, where we create ownership, accountability, and confidence in decision making among our employees. So we empower people through skills, knowledge, and abilities so that we take ownership of the decisions. We answer to any questions that may arise and also develop confidence in the way we do things. A confident person is likely to be a better performer than somebody who is not sure of what is supposed to be done. And then lastly, before we take questions, is how does a coaching mindset help an organization or benefit an organization? It creates a culture of engagement, innovation, and high performance. Allow me to speak to culture for a little while and link it to coaching mindset. Culture consists of three key elements. One, values. Two, norms. And three, beliefs. Let me talk about the two elements of culture, that is values and norms. A value is something that we consider to be very important for success, either at the individual level or organizational level. And in our organizations, we have what we call core values. And what are these core values? One, professionalism. Two, honesty and integrity. Three, customer care. Four, teamwork. So the question is, how do these core values relate to coaching? If you value customer care, it means that our employees must have the skills, the knowledge, and experience to take care of our customers. And how do they acquire the skills and knowledge? Can be through coaching. So coaching becomes a valuable element in order to improve customer care. Another aspect which I mentioned is norms. These are practices related to culture, the day-to-day behaviors of an organization or members. So if norms are practices, we want to make coaching a day-to-day way of life. So coaching becomes a way of life. It's not just an isolated thing. That when an employee joins an organization, after onboarding, they should be coached on how to perform their work efficiently and effectively. In many organizations, the practice, which is the norm and is part of culture, is that after onboarding, an employee is given their jobs and left on their own to do their things. And in such circumstances, employees may not perform well because they were not well guided from the beginning. So that coaching mindset creates a culture of learning, which becomes a routine thing for organizations. Then engagement relates to two things. One, participating in organizational activities and decisions. Two, a commitment to the organization or emotional attachment, which in some way contributes to employee motivation. So through coaching, organizations ensure that employees are engaged, meaning that they participate effectively and become motivated. So that becomes a benefit of having a coaching mindset. Then the element of innovation is very important in coaching. As I will mention in a short while, coaching requires questioning. That the coach, who could be also a manager, questions the employees in a way that provokes their mind. And through this provocation, the employees may make new discoveries through critical thinking. For example, you can ask an employee, what, in your opinion, could be the reasons behind your current performance? That question requires that employee starts thinking on the possible causes or drivers of their current performance. And if they understand the causes, then they should be able to address those causes of poor performance, if any. And through this questioning, employees are able to devise innovative ways of performing. And again, you can ask an employee, like, what interventions do you intend to take to improve your current performance? And through such a question, an employee can be innovative by listing the measures they can take to improve their performance. So those are the key elements associated with a coaching mindset. Next is purpose of performance coaching. Why do we need to coach our employees? One is performance improvement, that through coaching we strengthen the ability of employees to deliver improved outcomes through guidance, practice, and learning opportunities. We strengthen employee capability. How does this work? That employees are guided to set specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound objectives. And when the goals are specific and measurable, they are easier to achieve. In terms of practice, this could be the daily routines that they have to undertake to achieve the set performance levels. So there must be positive practices that employees are guided on to improve their performance. And then lastly is workplace learning opportunities, that through coaching, employees have an opportunity to learn new skills. New skills. The keyword there is new skills. That probably their current skills may not help them to deliver desired results. And if you remember, I mentioned in my introduction the circumstances or when performance coaching becomes necessary. It is when there are skill gaps. So through coaching, we are able to bridge those skill gaps so that people learn new skills and new knowledge. Secondly is to facilitate goal attainment, that at the individual level, coaching helps employees to discover their strengths and their potential, as it were, so that they can achieve their objectives by sharpening their skills and knowledge. So employees cannot achieve their objectives effectively unless they are coached. Yes, we can train them by taking them for training in colleges, universities, or workshops and seminars, but coaching enables them to transfer the skills directly to their jobs without the loss of knowledge through transfer of learning. The next is problem solving. We all encounter problems on a daily basis. And in some cases, we get stuck because we don't have solutions. However, through coaching, employees are able to, one, analyze the problem or identify the problem. Two, generate alternative solutions. Three, select the most suitable alternative. Four, implement the best alternative, and lastly, monitor progress. And again, as I will mention, that in performance coaching, the employee is guided and then allowed to do the work themselves. And then review their performance to see whether the desired results have been achieved. So an employee is guided on how they can make informed decisions so that they are able to solve their problems. It is not the responsibility of a coach to find solutions for the employee. Just like in counseling, it is not prescriptive. And because it's not, employees are encouraged to make their own decisions and guided on how they can make these decisions. Skill development is another reason why we need to coach our employees. Skill development. That through coaching, we are able to build competences or competencies for our employees. These competencies can be in terms of communication, in terms of leadership, in terms of performance, or in terms of technical skills. These competences enable employees to improve their performance. So through coaching, we can improve employee competences in relation to communication, which could be a core competence, to leadership, they improve their leadership competences. 3, it could be technical competence, which relates to their work. That in HR, we have technical competences, ICT technical competences, PR technical competences. So through coaching, all of us are able to improve our competences in our respective areas of operation. And then performance ownership. I have indicated before that coaching is intended to empower the employees to perform their work and make decisions independently. And this independence comes with responsibility, that they are responsible for their performance. So through coaching, we build ownership among employees so that they can make independent decisions and also accept responsibility. Then lastly, on the purpose of coaching is continuous progress. That again, if we make coaching as part of our culture, we ensure that employees continuously progress in terms of skills and knowledge acquisition, which in turn improves their performance. And that is why we say that continuous coaching ensures sustained employee performance and organizational success. When you talk of organizational success, 3 things or 4 come to mind. 1, attainment of objectives. 2, achievement, implementation of strategies. 3, generation of revenue. and 4, becoming competitive. And all this can be achieved through coaching. Allow me to move to the next part, that is elements of performance coaching, that as we set out to coach our employees, for those of us who have not started, these are the key elements you need to think about. 1, goal clarity. It's always good and good practice to ensure that we set clear expectations by ensuring that our goals and objectives are SMART: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. When the goals are clear, it becomes very easy to achieve them. And therefore, we should focus on ensuring that the objectives we set during coaching are specific and measurable. Otherwise, ambiguous objectives can be very difficult to achieve. For example, you will say improve customer experience in the next 1 year. That statement is very ambiguous if it's an objective. Improve customer experience in 1 year. So what are these experiences that you want to improve or enhance? So it becomes difficult even to measure that. Secondly, measurements or metrics. We should set a criteria for measuring progress. For instance, if it's a communication issue that an employee is not able to articulate issues as expected. So what could be a measure of effective communication? Number 1 is timeliness. How much time did the employee take to communicate? For example, we want to improve our communication by reducing the time taken to give feedback. If it's in our policy or as part of our targets for performance improvement, that feedback should be given within 4 hours, then the employee should give feedback within the 4 hours. If they exceed the 4 hours, then they are not performing well. So time becomes a measurable criterion for determining performance. So if you want to coach employees on time management, you would measure it through time. Then another element is observation, that a coach observes the employees as they do their work. I had an opportunity to visit a local bank when I participated in the Company of the Year Awards. Fortunately, we met a coach of the CEO in the office. They were together and the coach was monitoring what the CEO was doing from morning to evening. And at the end of the day, they would touch base and then review what the CEO did during the day, identify points of improvement, and also develop action plans. That is how coaching works. You monitor performance so that you are able to identify any progress, any challenges, or any achievement. So that observation is very important in performance coaching. Feedback is another element where the coach provides input on the employee performance in a timely manner. That without this feedback, the employee may not know how they are performing or whether they are meeting the targets. So feedback is important, the absence of which can be difficult or time wasting in terms of coaching. Then, as I said earlier, support is important, support in terms of resources and guidance. Resources are three: human resources. If an employee requires extra support from fellow employees, you allocate an employee to support the coachee. Two, financial resources, money. That some tasks require financial resources for them to perform. And four, rather three, another resource is technical resources or physical resources. This could be computers if they need to perform their work. This could be an office for them to perform. This could be tools and equipment. These are physical resources. Performance coaching may not achieve its objectives if adequate resources are not allocated. Then guidance is now looking at the performance of the employees on a regular basis and then guiding the employee on the way forward, but not suggesting what to do, but asking the employee what they think could be the best way forward. And if it's agreeable, then the next steps are implemented. Lastly is recognition. And as I said, as a way of creating a coaching culture, we should celebrate performance or achievement by way of rewarding. These rewards can be financial or non-financial, depending on the availability of those rewards. Next is the role of a coach, that you as a coach, what do you need to do? So in this case, just a second. The role of a coach is to guide the employees to find their solutions to their problems or to their performance gaps. That the coach is not there to do the work for the employee, but to guide them to find solutions, just like in counseling. And this guidance is usually in the form of two things. One, questioning, or two, a conversation or a discussion, so that both of them can find solutions. Of course, the coach can suggest, but that does not mean that the employee should take the suggestion if it's not working. Secondly is to motivate. As it were, motivation is that internal or external force that makes an employee behave in a certain manner, internal or external force. When it is internal, you call that intrinsic motivation, like the desire for success. All of us have a desire to succeed as individuals and also to succeed as employees in what we do. Coaching is a motivating factor because it enables employees to develop confidence in what they are doing because they are guided and supported. They can also be motivated through rewards, which I've just mentioned, so that they perform better. Thirdly, is providing feedback. And I've said it several times here, that without feedback, employees may not know how they are performing or whether what they produce is helping the organization achieve its objectives. So that feedback can be on progress, can be on achievements, can be on challenges. Then you can also solve problems by questioning, and in some cases, identifying obstacles that may affect the attainment of objectives. That as a manager, and I will talk about it when we are saying when to coach and when to manage, that as a coach, there may be extraneous factors that may affect employee performance or the coaching process. For example, lack of resources. It is the responsibility of the coach to find solutions to the resource problem. If it is within his or her power to allocate resources, they should allocate resources. But if they have to be gotten from elsewhere, then the coach should also look for those resources from those sources. And then role model, that apart from coaching the employees, they should demonstrate the right behaviors. For example, time management, right behaviors. 2, interpersonal relations, right behaviors. 3, empathy, right behavior. So those behaviors encourage employees to improve their performance. That if poor time management affects employee performance, as a role model, you should be able to demonstrate that reporting on time can help employees to improve their performance. Because we all are aware that if you report late to work, it means that there will be delays. And that is about time management. So even during coaching, we should value time. That if there is a coaching session, we must all be there on time. So being a role model is about exhibiting the right behaviors that the employees should follow. And that becomes part of the ethical behaviors that we should demonstrate. And then lastly, empowerment. That is ensuring that employees have the skills, the knowledge, the experience, and the abilities to make independent decisions and stand by them. And that builds accountability. Characteristics of effective coaches. Number 1 is active listening. And this is a basic and important element in communication. That in active listening, there are 4 me reduce them to three. There are three key aspects. One, you pay attention to what the employee is saying. Pay attention. Focus on what the employee is saying. Because if you don't focus, then you may not understand what the employee is doing or where they are coming from. Number two, asking questions for clarification. That if there is anything the employee has said and you didn't understand it well, then ask a question for clarification. Thirdly, is probing the responses. That if an employee has given a response in relation to their work, you can probe further to find out the underlying reasons for their performance. That shows that you are listening actively. And then powerful questions, which I've said, thoughtful questions. That in the thoughtful questions, you ask open-ended questions which encourage employees to explain what is happening, how it happened, where, when, and by who. Like I asked before, you can ask an employee, what could be the possible reasons responsible for your current performance? That requires an employee to reflect on their performance, could be above average or below expectation, and then the reasons. And in problem solving, there is always the element of the root cause analysis. So that reason becomes the cause of their current performance. Or if it's a question about what should be done next, you can ask the employee, what suggestions do you have to improve your career, to improve your performance in the future? So again, the employee will have to reflect and answer a question which is futuristic. What actions do they need to take to improve their performance? So with these open-ended questions, an employee is able to discover their potential, discover their strengths, and also generate alternative solutions to their current problems. Again, an effective coach provides feedback, and not just any feedback, but it should be balanced. Balanced by way of looking at the strengths of the employees as well as the weaknesses. There is a tendency of many managers to focus on the negative side, and that can be discouraging to an employee. So for you to be an effective coach, you can start with the positive aspects, and I will mention this in a short while. Positive aspects. You have performed well in this area, you have performed well in the other area, and then say, however, there is room for improvement. And then you point out areas that need attention. In that way, an employee is encouraged to perform better because they know they have potential, showing the areas of strength. And there are always opportunities for improvement where there are weaknesses. Another characteristic is empathy, that we need to put ourselves in the shoe of the employee. Ask ourselves, suppose we were in that position, what could we have done differently? In that way, we are able to understand the employee in terms of their strengths, weaknesses, challenges, and opportunities. That if we do not empathize, then an employee becomes discouraged because you may be mechanical in this coaching. That is why we are invited to inject the human face in managing people. That as much as we want the policies, the rules, and the regulations to be applied, we also want to use our heart and our head. In that way, we are able to demonstrate our empathy. If an employee has failed, you don't use words like, you are a disappointment. That's not being empathetic. You can always say that people may not perform well at first attempt. We can improve these outcomes instead of outrightly putting down an employee because they have not performed. Then trust building. This can be done in several ways by being honest, that is telling the truth at all times. And as they say, if you tell the truth will set you free. You also respect others as you would expect to be respected. Respect employees for who they are. That you respect their opinions, you respect their feelings or emotions. That if an employee cries because of doing badly or poorly, give them time to release their emotions. Do not interrupt people from releasing their emotions. Just like in counseling, if an employee is crying before you, you don't stop them. You don't say, stop crying, because you don't understand how they are feeling. So you respect people the way they are. Then you can also build trust by being dependable, that you are always there for the employees. You don't find excuses for not meeting them. You are always there and willing, ready, and available to support them. Then lastly, encouraging growth. Like I said at the beginning, performance coaching focuses on employee development. And in this development, we encourage employees to pursue continuous learning. That at no time will they stop learning, either as individuals or as teams. They should learn from each other by sharing their experiences. And that is the essence of coaching. I want us to take a break. But before that, I want to look at the process of performance coaching. Number one, you assess the current situation. And which situation are you looking at? The situation of the employee. Look at their strengths. Look at the challenges they are facing. Look at opportunities for improvement and performance gaps. By understanding this, you are able to develop clear objectives and plans to address those strengths, challenges, opportunities, and gaps. After that, you define measurable outcomes by ensuring that the goals or objectives are specific, are measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Clarity means that they are understandable. That if they are ambiguous, you don't achieve much. Specific, they refer to a specific aspect, to a particular aspect. It could be communication. What do you want to achieve with the communication? It could be aspects related to recruitment. What do you want to achieve in recruitment? What specific aspect? If it is recruitment timeline, you want to reduce the recruitment and selection timeline from 60 days to 45 days. That is specific. Instead of generally saying to reduce the time for recruitment in our organization. Which time is this? That's not specific. Then attainable, that the current resources will support the achievement of those objectives. Resources, will the resources support the objectives that we have set or the targets that we want to achieve? Step 3 is create an action plan. And a good action plan has the following key elements. Number 1, the objective. Number 2, the gap. Number 3, action required. Number 4, person responsible. Number 5, resources required. And number 6, timelines. That when you are coaching an employee, for example, you want to coach them on leadership. So you look at the objective of this leadership. 2, you look at the gap. What's the gap in that leadership? So that at the end of this process, you are able to bridge that gap. Then 3, the action. What action do you take to enhance the leadership skills of the employee? It could be mentorship. It could be a leadership training outside the organization. Then the person responsible, here we are looking at 2. 1, the coach, and 2, the employee, whom we can call coachee. Then after that, the resources, either computers or learning resources like notes or books. Then the timeline, we say we want to achieve this from July 2026 to December 2026. So we have about 5 months to achieve that. Then step 4 is monitoring progress, that unless we track performance, we will never know when things went wrong. So monitoring is a continuous process from the time we start implementing the action plan, so that we identify emerging issues. 2, we identify challenges. 3, we identify achievements, so that if there are any adjustments to be made, in the case of challenges or emerging issues, we are able to take measures in time. Then step 5, process of coaching, is building long-term capabilities. That means that we continuously equip our employees with skills and knowledge so that they can continuously perform at higher levels. And these are the coaching skills. Observation is one of them, which is very important. As I said, one of the key elements of performance coaching is observation. Then 2, analytical thinking on both the coach and the coachee by evaluating situations. Decision support, that as a coach, you need to support the employees to perform better. That after acquiring these skills, they should be able to make independent decisions. Conflict resolution, yes. Organizations experience conflict situations like conflict of interest, conflict of objectives, conflict of resources, and many other conflicts, disagreements. So being a fact that conflicts can never ever be avoided, we need to ensure that our employees are equipped with the conflict resolution skills in case they have disagreements with their fellow employees or even managers. There are many strategies of resolving conflicts. One is a discussion, that when there are conflicts, employees should discuss issues because conflicts affect performance. Two, consultation, that when you consult people, there's a less likelihood of employees conflicting. Effective communication is another way of resolving conflicts, or collaboration, working together with others. Those are all strategies for conflict resolution. Action planning, again, as I mentioned, action planning revolves around one, the objectives of the coaching, two, the gaps identified, three, the actions to be taken, four, the person responsible for the actions, five, the resources required, and lastly, the time. Then lastly, as a coach, you need to monitor progress. These are the principles of coaching. I've said something about active listening by paying attention, understanding the employees, asking questions, or seeking clarification. Questioning, you ask those questions that encourage employees to reflect and think critically. Constructive feedback, be balanced. Much as an employee may perform poorly, don't focus on the negative side. You also include the positive aspects. Mutual respect, I've said about it, that we respect ourselves, even in terms of time management, in terms of treatment, that even if you are a coach, don't treat the employee as a lesser being. We are all equal and we want to contribute to the success of the organization. I've talked about empowerment and continuous learning. Ensure that employees are empowered to make decisions through skills acquisition, continuous learning by rewarding those people who acquire new skills. Coaching behaviors, I mentioned some of them. Encourage ownership. People should accept responsibility and not run away from them. Promote learning, again, encourage continuous development. Recognize achievement, celebrate behavior, that celebrate accomplishments or achievements. That celebration is a behavior or a culture that we can promote. And then critical thinking by guiding employees to make decisions. Lastly, building confidence, that is having a positive attitude. Positive attitudes can be related to three things. One, commitment to their jobs. Two, satisfaction with what they are doing. And three, involvement and participation. That without this, then coaching fails. How to create a coaching culture, which I promised earlier. You build trust through openness in communication, collaboration by working with others, and being accountable for the outcomes of our coaching process. Promote communication, that regular, honest communication goes a long way in ensuring that coaching becomes a success and a part of the organization. Develop leaders that much as we are managers or leaders, we should also be coached. We should not assume that we don't need coaching. We might need coaching in leadership. So those leadership development skills can also be inculcated in this culture. Empowering employees, we said that that is encouraging them to take ownership of the decisions they make. And then lastly, align goals, that whatever goals of the coaching process must be linked with the organizational objectives. And lastly, I now encourage or invite us to ask any questions that we may have. It has taken a bit long, but it's okay. We are moving well. So ladies and gentlemen, if you have a question or a comment to make, please go ahead with your question. Anybody with a question, comment, or any suggestion? Jacinta, in no particular order. Jacinta, if you are there, please go ahead with your question or comment. Amina Mohammed?
Hi.
Okay.
Hi.
Okay. Meshak?
Hi.
Hello,
Okay.
how are you, Martin? Go ahead
Yes,
with your
fine.
question or comment.
Yes, fine. Thank you, Mr. Andari. How are you?
I'm okay.
Yes, my concerns. Suppose you are coaching a staff or employee. However, the issues that the employees is raising does not directly relate to the workplace or yes, maybe it's a domestic issue, but it's that's affecting his performance at workplace. So how will you go about it?
Okay, thank you for your question. Anything else?
Yes. No, just that one.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
A quick response that as HR managers, we double up as coaches and counselors. When we are talking about coaching, it is about employee-related issues. But when we are talking about counseling, it cuts across, whether I'm job-related or not. In your question, you have said that you have been coaching an employee, and then an issue arises which is not job-related. And this could be family issue. It could be a health issue, or it could be financial issue, which are personal in nature. What normally happens is that you don't coach people on financial, but you can counsel them. I am sure that all of us HR managers went through a course called counseling, employee counseling. And I believe we acquired skills on how to counsel employees. And yes, even personal issues affect employee performance. So we should not assume that we can only deal with work-related issues. So you should counsel your employee. If you are not qualified to counsel, you can refer this person, because family issues, for example, children, husbands, and wives, can cause stress or distress among employees, and that may be transferred to the workplace. So if you are not able to counsel the employee on family, health, or financial issues, you can refer them to a professional. And that will help to address the issues that do not relate to work. That is my take. Martin?
Yeah, that's okay.
Uh-huh.
And thank you for that feedback.
Thank you.
However,
Uh-huh.
suppose you are the counselor or your coach,
Or,
a coach,
you are the
and
counselor and
remember
coach.
you are also, at the same time you are a coach, and you are working with a team.
Mm-hmm.
And for instance, let's say we have the staffs and the employees who are having some issues, maybe on the shop floor level.
Mm-hmm.
They are reporting to a certain supervisory level, and you are not able to get the exact, you are not in a position to get the exact cause of this stress, maybe because of lack of the open communication between maybe the staff at the shop floor and the second level before you get this information. So can you maybe help me understand how will you go about it, so that I can influence to get the information at right hand?
Okay.
Or in real life, yeah.
Thank you. In counseling, there is the element of client confidentiality, which arises from your question. And you said that in some cases, you work as a team in counseling and coaching. However, there are different reporting relationships where an employee could be reporting to a different supervisor. And because there is little or no open communication, you don't get to know the exact cause or issue that is affecting the employees. Two things. One, I am sure you have an open door policy where you as a manager encourage people to report to you any issues that they may be facing. And this open door policy encourages employees to approach managers or other employees in case their issues are not addressed. So if an employee does not have his or her issue addressed by the line managers, through this other open policy, you can encourage them to approach you with any issues that they may have. Secondly, you have rightly mentioned that you work in a team environment. You should be able to discuss generally the issues that the employees may have. And if possible, contact the employee if the issues have not been addressed. And then lastly, you mentioned it that this could be a challenge, lack of open communication, that you create that free environment where employees do not fear to raise issues with any manager at any time. Three things that I've mentioned: open door policy where employees can refer issues to you or to any other competent manager for redress. Two, working as a team to share knowledge, to share experiences related to the issues that may be common. And then three, create that free environment where employees do not fear to approach any manager so that issues are resolved as soon as they arise. We as managers want to achieve better results, either through coaching, through counseling, or through other means. And if that is the case, a distressed employee may not be performing, and therefore it becomes a concern of all of us. So through these 3 approaches, you may be able to address that issue. Back to you, Martin.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's okay. Yeah.
Any other person who has a question or a comment to make, please go ahead. Martin Kisa, Martin, you have spoken. Evelyn Tendwa. Rosalind.
Morning. Good
Yes,
morning.
Evelyn, go ahead. Good morning.
Yes. Yeah, thank you for it has been insightful.
Yes.
Yeah, now help me understand. I have, employees who will always attach any coaching to monetary issues. So whenever even an appraisal, they want it to, geared towards being salary increment. So how do you handle that so that they understand it is for their benefit, not towards a salary increment?
Okay. Thank you, Evelyn. Yes, I agree with you sometimes that employees may seek monetary benefits after coaching. I could suggest that you explore the following options. One, during onboarding, that's where we begin, onboarding. Take the employees through the opportunities that exist, including training, coaching, and mentorship, and clarify to them that coaching, mentoring, and in some cases training may not attract any benefits, and that this is done for purposes of enhancing their performance, so that we reward performance and not coaching. Because at the end of the day, it is the results that speak, not the coaching itself. So if employees understand that coaching is a process that leads to results, you are only going to reward the results, but not coaching. It's a benefit that employees enjoy, and if it is successful, both the employee and the employer can benefit. So the employee benefits from a reward, that is way of incentivizing coaching, and the employer benefits by way of getting the desired results in terms of revenues, in terms of profit, in terms of customer satisfaction, and of course, financial stability. That is one. Number two, do not make it a policy that after coaching, an employee will be rewarded. If you make it automatic, it becomes very difficult. When so many employees go through coaching or even training, then they expect rewards. So it should be clear in your policy. I'm sure you have a policy on training and development, and the coaching is part of that development. So if the policy is clear on what should be rewarded, then the employees should not ask for rewards after coaching. Then number three, do a debrief. Debrief the employees before undertaking a coaching program. that you inform them about the coaching, how it will be done, and the benefits to the employee, so that the employees are clear that after coaching, they do not expect monetary rewards. And then lastly, number 4, have regular meetings with your employees. It could be town hall meetings, or it could be departmental meetings, and always encourage them to join coaching programs without the expectation of monetary gains. But the bottom line is that at the end of this process, both the employee and the employer are going to benefit. The employee will enhance their skills, knowledge, and abilities to perform their work. And if they perform well, they will be rewarded for performance and not the completion of a coaching process. Back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much for the, you've answered it well for me. Yeah.
Thank you very much. If there is no other question or comment to be made, I now wish to go to the second part of our presentation today, and that is performance cycle and alignment. Just hold on a minute. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for that break. We continue. If there is a question to be made or a comment, I will now invite you to focus on the performance cycle and alignment. However, I will wish to mention that the questions that all of us have asked are very important, very relevant this morning. But again, I would like to invite you to our webinars as they will be advertised. This is module 1 of 6 components. So we shall have module 2, module 3, module 4, up to module 6. So please be on the lookout, and we shall be informing you when the next module will come up, so that all the relevant questions can be asked, and I'm sure we shall benefit from this process. So welcome back. Our next subtopic is performance cycle and alignment. By performance cycle, we mean a systematic process of performance management, which has a beginning and it continues throughout the life of an organization. I remember I mentioned earlier that performance management is a continuous process. One phase leads to the next, and the next, and it is continuous. And I will demonstrate this in the next few minutes. So what is this performance cycle? It is a structured process involving planning, execution, reviewing, and improving. In my next slide, planning involves setting objectives, assembling resources, setting the timelines, and also setting targets. That this is the first phase of performance cycle that you cannot do without planning. That everything starts with a plan. And as they say, if you don't plan, then you are planning to fail. In performance management, we plan and ensure that those plans are adequate, are measurable, and time-bound. Executing relates to implementation. That unless the targets, the objectives, and the timelines are implemented, we shall never achieve any results. And in execution, I will mention, there are three key aspects. One, you assign duties. Just like in the action plan that we mentioned, who is responsible for doing what? Two, you allocate resources. The three resources are human, financial, and physical. And three, monitor progress. As you will have realized, monitoring is a constant in our presentation. That you need to monitor what we are doing in performance coaching throughout. That if we monitor, we are able to identify emerging issues, we identify changes, we identify challenges, and we also establish progress so that we can continuously measure how we are performing. And then reviewing is now measuring or identifying any gaps that may have arisen and then taking corrective actions. The purpose of this performance cycle is to ensure that organizational objectives are achieved through employee contribution. That during planning, we involve employees. During execution, we involve employees. During review, we involve employees. And even when it comes to measures for improvement, we involve employees. So this cycle is not about managers. It's about all the members of the organization who work together collaboratively to achieve organizational objectives and priorities. Thirdly, this is a continuous process, not only within a year, but many years to come. Because the output of one phase becomes the input of the next. So if we are talking about planning, the outputs of planning become the inputs of execution. And the outputs of execution become the input of reviewing. And there are emerging issues in our environment which make this process continuous. Technology emerges, economy changes, legal environment changes, and even our politics also changes. So we continuously conduct performance appraisals and management throughout the year. That does not mean that at the end of the year we stop. We set new objectives for the year, just like we have started doing, especially for those of us in government who follow a financial year calendar. So our calendar has just started. Today is 4th, you are 4 days into the new year. So it's expected that within this month, everybody in government will have set their objectives and targets and implement them, so that by September or October, there will be a quarterly review of the progress that we are making. And it continues up to next year, and next year we set new objectives because we have work to do. Work does not come to an end at the end of the year. And then the employee involvement, that everybody must participate in this process, because coaching is a participative process, and therefore we encourage employees to participate. Traditionally, under personnel management, all objectives, strategies, and programs were set by managers, and the employees were the receiving end. In human resource management, we consider participation as very important. Why? Because all employees are considered as partners. And that's why we talk of human resource business partnership. In a partnership, everybody participates. Everybody has a stake. And the success of an organization becomes the success of everybody. I will invite you to also look out for our next training on certified human resource business partner. And this could be an opportunity for us to enhance our skills and knowledge on how this partnership works and how we can drive organizational success through partnership. What is the responsibility of managers in this cycle? Is coaching, mentoring, and development. The emphasis is on coaching because that is our topic of discussion this morning. Then monitoring is important because it ensures that we stay on track. There are no deviations. And then the essence of coaching is development, which we said guiding employees to develop or enhance their skills and knowledge. Then lastly, by way of understanding this cycle is organizational value. Where do we need to understand this cycle? One is that at the end of this process, we enhance productivity. That is the total output of the cost or input that will tell us whether we are being productive. Accountability, and again, I mentioned earlier that in coaching, we train employees to be responsible or answerable for their actions and the results they produce. And then lastly, everything that we do as HR managers must be aligned. And this alignment is with strategic goals. That if you want to improve customer experience or reduce customer complaints from 20 to 5, you should coach your employees on how to handle customers so that we reduce the complaints. Secondly is performance cycle. What does the cycle involve? Number one is the planning stage, where both the coach and the coachee set SMART goals. and then clarify expectations that the employees who are being coached are expected to improve their performance over the period of time. They also expect to provide support to other employees who are not being coached. And on the part of managers, employees expect to get the relevant and necessary resources for them to be coached effectively. And then lastly is performance indicators, that what will tell the manager or coach that the employee has achieved anything. We need to set KPIs and metrics that will show that we have performed. So metrics are key in terms of either time, either money, or even resources. That could be indicative of whether we are improving or not. Then implementation stage, that in implementing, like I said earlier, 3 things. 1, allocate resources. 2, assign duties. And 3, monitor progress. These are the 3 requirements for effective implementation of performance cycle. Thirdly is the monitoring stage, that as we implement, just like in project management, we track progress and we look at the parameters of our performance cycle in terms of 1, budget, 2, time, 3, scope, 4, progress or achievements. And this is what we should be measuring, that in case there are deviations, we are able to take corrective actions in time. Don't be that manager who waits until the end. That is when you monitor. Monitoring is continuous process, assessing our work during coaching and performance. Then the coaching stage. During monitoring, you may identify gaps that the employee being coached is not achieving or doing what was expected. That is where coaching comes in. So if there are gaps during coaching, so that during performance of the employees, you coach them so that they feel supported, they get feedback on what they are doing, and you give them further guidance. After coaching, you review. Then in the review, you look at the achievements in terms of 1, skill acquisition. Have they acquired skills? 2, behaviors. Have their behaviors changed? You remember we mentioned something to do with behaviors during coaching. Just like training, coaching is expected to change people's behavior in the way they do things. Number 3, in terms of reviewing, you look at their transfer of learning. Are they able to transfer the skills, knowledge, and abilities to their stations of work? And this is what we measure in training. that transfer is important, that if a person cannot transfer, the element of remembering kicks in, that the employee is not able to remember what they learned during coaching. And you can only apply what you can remember. And then lastly, under the review stage, you look at results. Is the coaching achieving the results? If it was a performance gap, for example, delays in customer service, at the end of that coaching process, the delays should be reduced or eliminated. 2, it could be wastage of resources, which is a performance gap. At the end of that coaching, the employees should reduce wastage or eliminate wastage. Or if it is revenue, before the coaching, the employee was not generating the desired revenue as targets, then the employee should be able to demonstrate that they are now generating revenue. So the review stage looks at the achievements against the performance gaps which were identified at the beginning of a coaching process. If you remember, we said that the coaching process starts with analyzing the current situation. So current situations including performance gaps or strengths and weaknesses. So at the review stage, you again look at those performance gaps and see whether coaching has achieved its objective. Then the last stage is improvement. These are the action plans. And again, I repeat, action plans involve 6 key elements. 1, the objective that was to be achieved. 2, the gaps that were identified. 3, the action plans. 4, the person responsible. 5, the resources required. And lastly, timelines. So that is a brief overview of the performance cycle. Next is the performance alignment. That in alignment, we are looking at how the individual performance fits or supports the attainment of corporate goals and objectives, including the mission. So we are connecting or linking the individual goals in coaching with organizational mission, vision, strategy, and objectives. Talking of mission, this is the purpose of existence, purpose of existence, what the organization is doing, or what business it is in. Then vision is where they want to be. Objectives is what they want to achieve, and the strategy is how they want to achieve it. If we are to do individual coaching, the intention is to achieve the mission, the purpose. And I can give an example of a manufacturing company producing milk or processing milk. When you coach employees, they acquire skills and knowledge to process quality milk. That's the mission. So there is a linkage between individual coaching and the mission. It could be any milk production company. So the mission is to produce quality milk or high quality milk, which is safe for consumption. in terms of vision, where they want to be the leading quality milk producer in East and Central Africa. And again, you cannot be a leader in milk production if your employees are not well coached so as to perform their work to enable the organization to be a leader in East and Central Africa. We can talk a lot about this, but again, as I said, I will invite you to our future webinars so that we can learn more on this. Secondly, departmental alignment. That we have started with the individual, now we look at the department. Our departments as HR have many objectives to achieve. One, our objectives are derived from the corporate objective, like reducing the cost of recruitment and selection by 20%. If that is our objective as a department, then we should find out how we can achieve this, which means we are likely to train, coach, and mentor people on how we can cut cost in recruitment and selection. So we coach people on efficient and effective methods of recruitment and selection so that we can achieve our departmental objectives. Then role alignment, that employees' jobs must be aligned. That if it is an accountant, what does an accountant do? Maybe keep records, financial records of the organization, which you call books of accounts. If the employee has a performance gap, meaning that they are not keeping the books of account well, they should be coached in line with their role so that everybody is coached based on what they do. And by extension, this leads to organizational success. Another element of alignment is resource alignment. We have resources that can support many other initiatives in the organization, such as recruitment, training, performance management, employee relations, as well as reward and compensation. In particular, we are talking about coaching resources. And we said earlier that as coaches or as managers, we need to support our employees in many ways, and particularly in resources. Provide adequate resources to support coaching. If the resources are inadequate, then coaching may not be very successful. If they are inadequate, meaning that we can only coach a few employees, what happens to others? It means that our performance as a department may still be low if only a few are coached. So if there are any resources like financial resources to be allocated, as managers, we should develop budgets for coaching so that we know all the employees are coached depending on their roles. Another alignment is behavior. That if you are a HR manager, you must behave as such. If you are a finance manager, behave like a finance person. So the behavior must be consistent with the jobs that people are doing. And by and large, these behaviors should be aligned with the core values of the organization. I can mention 3 core values which I've done before. 1 is integrity. 2 is honesty. 3 is professionalism. 4 is customer care. So if these are values, employees must demonstrate behaviors that are aligned with the core values. So when we are coaching employees, we also coach them on behavior so that they are aligned with the core values. Then lastly is performance alignment, that the results that we produce at the individual level must support the attainment of overall organizational objectives. So that is for alignment, that nothing should be left to chance, whether it's strategic alignment at the top level, departmental, role, and others. Moving forward, we look at performance challenges. One is unclear expectations, and this is a problem with planning. So during planning, we should set clear objectives which are specific, measurable, attainable, and time-bound. Secondly is limited resources. And again, there is no organization in the world that has all the resources required. Even governments struggle, which means that the resources that we have must be allocated on the basis of priority. However, sometimes we face resource shortages, and we should improvise ways of going about this or going around these resource shortages. And this can be through sharing the available resources, to optimizing the resources that we have in case they are limited resources, including human resources. There are certain talents that we may not have, and therefore becomes a challenge when it comes to coaching on performance. Not all of us can coach others, for example. So we may have to rely on outside or external providers to do performance coaching. The other challenge is communication gap. Not only poor communication, but also inadequate or late communication. That leads to misunderstanding and affects performance. Low or lack of motivation reduces engagement. Like I said, engagement has to do with two things. One, the level of participation of employees, and two, commitment and the motivation. So if employees are not motivated, however much effort we put into performance coaching, we may not achieve much. Skills deficiencies, which goes back to resource shortages where people do not have adequate skilled personnel. So those missing competencies may again affect employee confidence and performance. And lastly is delays in providing feedback, which means that employees are not able to move forward because certain information is missing or has not been provided adequately. Lastly, improving performance. How do we improve performance? Number one is that we set priorities in terms of objectives, in terms of targets, and in terms of KPIs. Secondly, we strengthen skills through the various methods of skills acquisition, starting with coaching, then mentoring, then training, then assistant positions, or even delegation. Collaboration is what we said at the beginning, that performance coaching is a collaborative process. And we said that is a characteristic of performance coaching. In collaboration, we promote teamwork, where we achieve synergy And this synergy means that we produce more or better results by working together. Nobody achieves better results by working alone compared to a team environment. We also recognize success. Like I said, one of the ways of inculcating a coaching culture, we celebrate achievements, that those coaches who have produced better results, we reward them. And one of us asked, how do we move away from employees demanding monetary gains after coaching? It's about achievement. So if an employee has achieved better results after coaching, then they can be given an incentive. Again, reviewing progress, which is very important. On a regular basis, we should do this so that we can identify achievements, areas of improvement, opportunities, as well as challenges. Then lastly, support growth. We can only support growth through creation of development plans. And again, I will invite all of us to ask any question or make any comment before we go to the last part of our program today. So anybody with a comment or a question, please go ahead. Caroline Kerich, if you are there, please ask your question or make a comment. Leah, go ahead, Caroline, go ahead. I can't hear you, Caroline. Please unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead, but increase your volume, please.
My volume is high. Thank you for the session. It's very insightful and easy to follow. So no questions from my end.
Thank you very much, Caroline. I'm happy that we are progressing well. Titus Q. Then Irene Munyao, if you are there, please go ahead. Martha, if you are there, Martha Namoe, please go ahead. All right, apparently there is no question or comment. Thank you, because you are keen listeners. And I will now encourage us to continue listening as we move to the last part of our presentation. Coaching versus management. We have said that coaching is about enhancing people's skills by way of uncovering or discovering their potential. We are going to look at this vis-a-vis managing, and I'm sure all of us have gone through a management course where we talk about the functions of a manager: planning, organizing, directing, staffing, coordinating, and controlling. Those are the functions of a manager. So the question that we are asking ourselves at the back of our minds is that, can we use managing in coaching? Yes, it is possible that if coaching is about imparting skills and knowledge to improve performance, managers have to plan, managers have to organize, managers have to coordinate the coaching. So these two work together, as I will demonstrate in a short while. So what is coaching and managing? Coaching, by definition, is developing employee potential, and we said that. all of us have potential to improve. All of us have potential to lead. All of us have potential to communicate better. So all those potentialities can be achieved through coaching. And then managing, I've just mentioned, managers' work or functions is to plan what they plan goals, plan schedules, plan resources. And there is also a link. As a coach, during planning, you also plan goals, plan resources, and timelines. So these two work together, and that is where we converge. Organizing is about creating order. Management is not about chaos. We want an orderly environment. So everything should be at their place when they are required. When we are disorganized, it becomes very chaotic unless you are such a manager who manages by crisis. Management by crisis. You create a crisis and then you manage it and then beat your chest that you are successful. I'm sure you have seen these people. And then monitoring, ensuring that everything is going according to plan. And then lastly, resource allocation. As a coach, you may not have resources of your own to allocate, but allocated resources can be allocated from elsewhere, and that is the work of a manager. And where is the point of intersection between the two? That both coaching and management support employee performance. Coaches train people to acquire new skills or guide them to reflect and think critically, while managers, to improve performance, they provide resources and also monitor progress. What is the key difference? Coaching develops people through guidance. Management coordinates tasks so that there are no conflicts and also allocates organizational resources. Then as a manager, you need to balance the two, and I will see where we can balance in the next slides, that you can combine both coaching and management to achieve better organizational outcomes. Just like I said, the shared purpose. Our purpose as coaches and managers is to enhance performance. It's only the approach that differs, that the approach of a coach is to guide, and the approach of a manager is to give instructions. So we should balance. When do we guide and when do we give instructions? That's where you need to find a balance. And in my next slide, I will be showing when to coach and when to manage. And how do these apply to organizational settings? That all of them require different situations. Coaching may require a different situation. Management also requires a different situation. However, when another situation requires, you can combine the two. So here we are talking about the focus of coaching. That is where the point of divergence is. The coaches who we are develop potential. Like I said in my introduction, coaching involves identifying and developing employee potentials. So we strengthen the employee capabilities through learning and development opportunities. Secondly, a coach builds confidence. Why he or she interacts with the employee on a regular basis, looks at how the employee performs their work, and encourages them to believe in themselves that they can do and achieve results. So confidence is very important. All of us, when we started off in our employees, we may not have had the confidence to perform. But over time, we can perform our work confidently. So for employees who are not confident about themselves, coaching becomes handy because they are guided on how to develop that self-confidence. Those of us who have been involved in teaching, like myself, my first day in a college, that's a higher level institution, I found so many students in class. I banged the door and went away because I didn't have the confidence to face so many people who seemed to be knowledgeable from their looks. But over time, I have developed confidence. And one of the coaches told me, don't look at people in the eyes, because some of the people can make faces which can throw you off balance. So the best thing to do is to look at people's foreheads. Don't look at them in the eyes. Look at them in the foreheads so that you don't see what faces they are wearing. That's a way of building confidence. But over time, you now learn to look at people in their faces, interact with them, listen to them, and also offer support. Thirdly, is encourage reflection. And I said earlier that a coach is one who questions things, questioning the employee on why they are doing what they are, how they are doing it, what expectations they have, and how they expect to deal with emerging issues. Those are areas that you can ask questions on so that you can encourage critical thinking. And even today, as we move to the era of AI, there are three things that remains for HR managers to survive. One is critical thinking, two is decision making, and three is problem solving. So here we are talking about critical thinking, so that a coach questions things so that he or she can encourage critical thinking. Then support learning. Again, a coach is there to support learning through creation of those learning opportunities so that employees can acquire skills, knowledge, and competences. Inspire ownership. Coaching enables employees to take responsibility for their actions or behaviors, including their results. If they don't, then they need further coaching. Unlike management, which believes that employees should perform their work, and if they don't, then actions can be taken, either punishment or a release. Then lastly, is strengthening relationship through coaching. The coach, who is the manager, and the employee develop a close relationship. And this close relationship encourages collaboration, empathy, and a respective work environment. What is the focus of managing? Managers focus on assigning duties. They assign duties. Coaches don't. Coaches explore potential. They don't assign duties. Managers monitor performance. They track employee progress. Yes, coaches can also track progress, but most importantly, they look at ability to transfer the skills and knowledge acquired in their workplace, and also solve their own problems. Managers, as I said a little earlier, they allocate resources. Coaches may not have the resources to allocate. 4, coaches solve problems. The managers solve problems, just as coaches also encourage employees to solve problems. But in this case, managers solve the problems for the employees. But in coaching, the employees solve their own problems. Another one is compliance. As HR managers, we ensure adherence to organizational policies, procedures, and even laws and regulations. Compliance. Those who don't comply are punished. As opposed to coaches, their focus is on employee development and performance, not compliance. And then lastly, the managers of organizations focus on results or outcomes by way of planning, coordinating, and resource utilization. But coaches deliver results through guidance, questioning, and discovering employee potential. Then when do we coach? One of them is when we need to develop skills. Like I said earlier in our introduction, when is coaching necessary? Is to develop new skills where there are skill gaps. 2 is to improve the confidence of employees where there is lack of it. They support employee growth through skills and knowledge acquisition. 4, we coach when we want to encourage innovation. And as I mentioned, innovation can be achieved by questioning why somebody did what they did and what they expect. Then they strengthen ownership, accountability, when we want people to be accountable for what they do, their behaviors, and the outcomes they produce. So in our organizations, when we coach people, we want to strengthen ownership or accountability. Then lastly is to prepare leaders. I mentioned one of the benefits of coaching is to aid or support succession planning. So through coaching, we are able to prepare lower level employees for senior positions in the future. And again, here we focus on leadership coaching, not necessarily performance coaching. Of course, a good leader is one who performs, so we can combine leadership coaching, performance coaching, communication coaching, and other forms of coaching. Then when do we manage? Number one, when there's need for meeting deadlines, because managers set timelines and deadlines are followed strictly. 2, when we want to control resources, if you remember the functions of a manager: planning, organizing, directing, controlling. What do we control? We control resources such as budgets, which is money. We control people in terms of behavior. We control equipment in terms of utilization. And then another situation requiring management is maintenance of standards. I'm sure all our organizations have what you call SOPs, standard operating procedures, which everybody must comply with. That much as we coach employees, managers ensure that the standards are made. Then resolve issues, be they conflicts or problems. Managers resolve issues. But coaches encourage employees to resolve their own issues unless otherwise required. Then they coordinate operations to ensure that there is harmony across the department. But coaching is individual focused. It focuses on individual development and performance. So for managers, they coordinate operations, which means that they ensure people, resources, and activities are done at the right place, at the right time, in the right way, and at the right time. Then lastly, managers monitor progress. And again, even coaches must monitor progress. But for managers, it's on a wider scale. They look at the progress of all the employees being coached and collect data so that they can make an informed decision going forward. How do we balance between the two? Apply coaching when we want to develop employees so that they can acquire new skills and knowledge. Number two, we apply management when there is need for adequate resource allocation and monitoring progress. Three, we choose the most appropriate approach, whether coaching and managing, depending on the employee needs and the requirements or a situation. And this is what you call contingency management, where you coach when their employee needs to be resolved. You can also manage where the situation requires. So you can coach as and when required, manage as and when required, but the two of them can work together. And that brings us to bullet 4, where we need to maintain balance. And this balance is now combining development, which is a preserve of coaching, and accountability, which is a preserve of management. So we maintain a balance between coaching and the management, depending on the focus. Then we need to strengthen the two by way of integrating coaching and the management practices so that we can achieve higher or better results. Then lastly, all these two work together to achieve results. So we balance employee development and operational excellence so that we achieve organizational success. And organizational success, as I mentioned earlier, has to do with several things. One, attainment of objectives and strategies. Number two, generating revenue. And then number three, achieving the mission and vision. Lastly, becoming competitive. Even in public sector, we should think of being competitive because we want to enhance public service delivery. Whether you are in a ministry, a department, or agency, we want to succeed even when we are compared with others. And then lastly, what have we covered so far in terms of coaching and management? That there is need for developing people through coaching so that people can learn new skills and knowledge. Number two, we use management to ensure efficient coordination of resources, programs, as well as processes and procedures. Three, we need to choose or a balance between management and coaching depending on the situation. And then in terms of balancing leadership, we combine both approaches, that is leadership, rather management and coaching, to strengthen performance. Where coaching alone does not work, we bring in management and vice versa. Empowering employee, and that is what we started with, that the essence of coaching is to empower employees to make decisions, that is, and own them, and also remain accountable. Then lastly, both coaching and management drive success in organizations, that when they work together, success is almost guaranteed. And on that note, I wish to ask if there is anybody with a question for the last time or a comment to make so that we can close this session. Again, anybody with a question or a comment to make, please go ahead. Vicky, if you are there, sorry for ambushing you, please ask your question or make a comment. I can see flowers from many of you. Thank you for the flowers. I'm happy. Anybody with a question or a comment, please go ahead.
Doc, I have a question. This is Felix Gallo.
Yes, Felix, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask whether we can run concurrent PIP together with the coaching for performance.
Okay.
And
yes. Anything else?
Whether coaching can help reduce the anxiety during the PIP, because you realize most of employees believe that once you've been placed in a PIP, the company is trying to find a legal way of exiting you. So trying to see what I've learned here is I'm trying to see how to implement coaching during PIP to help employee recover. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Felix. Your question is very important, especially when it comes to employee performance. And like you have mentioned, PIP comes about when an employee is not performing to expectations. And it means that they are not meeting their targets, they are not delivering results, or their objectives are not achieved within the timelines. If this happens over a period of time, then that employee is put on a PIP. And again, this depends on your policy. For some organizations, a PIP is put in place when an employee performs poorly in 1 quarter, others 2 quarters, or others 3 quarters. 3 quarters is such a long time to wait for an employee to continue performing poorly. Allow me to mention, as I answer your question, that the essence of performance coaching is not a way of looking for a way of exiting an employee. The focus is on improving performance. And therefore, as we engage in performance coaching, we look at the performance gaps. 2, we look at the causes of those gaps. And then 3, we look for interventions that can be implemented to bridge the gaps, then implement those interventions, monitor, and review. And therefore, coaching for performance is key in ensuring that employees get the relevant support when they are put on a PIP, Performance Improvement Program. I'm sure those of us who have gone through this process, especially the court process where an employee prefers a lawsuit against the organization for unfair dismissal based on poor performance. The Labor Relations Court will always ask, were there adequate systems and the support to ensure that the employee achieved their targets and objectives, which is basically performance? The answer could be yes or no. And if it is no, then the employee can either be reinstated or be awarded. Going back to performance improvement program and employee performance coaching, that performance coaching is part of that support. That if an employee does not perform because they don't have the skills and knowledge, or they don't have the confidence, because coaching builds confidence, then we should coach them on how to perform better. So through this coaching, we expect that the employees should be able to perform and achieve their skills. Then apart from coaching, we can mentor them, we can train them, we can also provide the resources, which is more of management than coaching. So Felix, there is a linkage between performance coaching and PIP. That don't wait until an employee is put on a PIP. Let performance coaching be a continuous process. Make it part of the organizational culture, where you encourage learning, where you provide opportunities for learning, and where you reward learning, especially through coaching. So it is both a preventive and a curative measure. Preventive, if you do it early enough so that people don't underperform. And it is curative if employees are not performing, and therefore you introduce coaching. Felix, back to you.
That is very clear, Mr. Ondari. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Anybody else with a question or a comment to make? The floor is still ours. If Brenda, you are there, go ahead. Jacqueline Kiari. Elizabeth Kanini, sorry.
I don't have a question. I think the presentation was very clear. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And I'm happy that the presentation was clear. Amina Mohammed. Okay. Any other person to give a comment? We are closing now. Okay. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for having me this morning. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for the questions and the comments that you have made. At ACHRP, we are available to support us as need arises. Please check out our programs, especially our webinars, so that we can continue learning together going forward. Asanteni sana and have a good day. Thank you.